Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. I'm going to be sharing a story with you that was shared with me by one of my viewers. And it's very, very interesting, the timing of this story, because just the other day I did a video where I was talking about how the president of Ghana was appealing to the diaspora to invest in Africa, the African continent, in the way that the Chinese have invested in China and have made it a superpower. And I gave my opinions on that, and I was basically saying that is not the same because China is basically ran by Chinese people, whereas Africa, on the other hand, still have a lot of outside influence. As a matter of fact, a lot of the continent is still owned by foreign nations, a lot of the continent, and the majority of the people who live on the continent, which are indigenous to the continent, are living in poverty. And so I wanted to do this story because right now they are experiencing a nightmare situation in Ghana. There's a title, the title of the article that I'm going to read just a little bit from is on zerohedge.com, but it says horror in Ghana as a third of banks shutter, sparking unprecedented bank runs. Okay, so I'm going to read some of this article here, and it's very interesting how when you play around in these markets, you never know what to expect. We have talked about that in detail here in this house. I used to work for a financial planning firm years ago, and to think that these markets are stable and dependable and trustworthy and without any type of human influence, I think is naive. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading some of the article here. It says, it's bad enough that drought-like conditions and rapid population growth have stoked a shortage of water and other vital resources in Ghana, a country that boasts of the fastest growing economy on earth. But a banking crisis is just now rolling the country's economy, and has wiped out $1.6 billion. Actually, it says, but a bank crisis is just now roiling the country's economy and has wiped out $1.6 billion. It says one couple, two of some 70,000 investors who were impacted by the shuttering of some 23 savings and loans companies, about 1/3 of the banks in the country, and a run on the country's assets managers described to Bloomberg how they deposited money in a short-term investment product intended to help save money for the wife to finish her economic PhD, only to discover that they may never get the money. The run left investment companies holding it looks like they have some grammatical errors here on the website, but I'm going to go ahead and read anyway. It says the run left investment companies holding too many illiquid assets. They had too any on here, but anyway, it says unlisted bonds, private debt placements, etc. And now securities regulators in Ghana are trying to figure out who broke what security laws and to what degree. Even the SEC has gotten involved. Okay, so when I said something about playing around in markets that can be manipulated by humans, that's what I meant, because it says they're trying to figure out who broke what securities laws and to what degree. So I'm not going to read any more of the article, but I wanted to expound on the whole situation that Ghana is in right now. It says 1/3 of its banks have closed. 1/3. And so that has created quite a stir, a bank run, in which that's one of those things that even here in the U.S. we have to consider the fact that this is something that is very possible. A bank run could mean that they will limit the amount that you can withdraw from your own account if something such as this happens. Now, What I wanted to say about Ghana is this. A lot of people are excited about going back to Ghana. And I'm just going to be honest. I thought at one time that it was a great idea as well. Our family years ago looked into the possibility of relocating to the continent because that is where the majority of our people are. Okay, and so we thought it was a wonderful idea. Tired of how things are going over here as far as the hatred, the racism, and all that kind of stuff like that. But let me tell you something. It's better to seek the Most High regardless to what situation you are in. Seek Him before making any move. Always seek Him, because you don't want to go out of the frying pan into the fire. You don't want to put yourself in a situation that is worse than what you're in. Okay? All over the planet there's trouble. So there's absolutely nowhere you can go and not experience something. Okay? We totally get that. There are some places that are better than others and some places that are worse than others. But in a case such as this, when you go into a new economy that you're not used to and you're not completely and fully and thoroughly financially prepared, you can experience the shock of your life. And so you have a lot of people that don't even have the financial means to resettle in Ghana, but they are trying to get there. And so what happens if you get there during a time such as this, to where resources are already stretched? There's already a strain on the economy, or things that are happening that you are not fully able to deal with. What then? You see, a lot of people are going to Ghana. They can deal with it financially, but a lot of the people that were getting excited about the year of return were thinking or being led to believe that we were being sent for, and some had the assumption that our trip back was going to be paid for by those who were making the call. And so this is why we did a lot of videos trying to bring clarification that that is not what they were saying. They were not sending for you in terms of sending you money, but they were telling you, if you send money, invest, your money will grow, and at some point you can afford to move there on your own dime. No one was sending for you. No one was going to fund the trip, you see. And I don't think a lot of people understood that. And so here we are, a year of return. August 20th was the date that everyone was saying was the date for the mass exodus out of here. And here we are in the same position that we were in prior to all of this. And so this is why it's very important that the right information is put out there so that people don't get their hopes up. And then when you look at the fact that there's this bank run and this jolt, this thing that's happening in the economy of Ghana, where would that have put people who went over there on a hope and a prayer? Those who really couldn't afford to be there in the first place. Where would you be if you were able to make it there but depended on something else to survive beyond that? Don't get me wrong, I get a lot of Africans who respond and they totally miss the point of what I'm saying. They think that this is a dissing of Africa, and no, it is not. I mean, realistically, we have to consider how will we take care of ourselves or survive or even navigate on a continent that we are unfamiliar with. And so when you get angry and you make your little comments and say you don't want us there anyway, you just kind of feed into what a lot of people believe, because I don't believe that every African thinks and believes the same, because many of them, they greet us with love and compassion, and some of us reciprocate that. We greet with love and compassion as well. We know that we are a part of each other. We know this. But whether you're coming from Africa to America or going from America to Africa, you have to consider everything when you are putting yourself in a set of circumstances that you're not familiar with. And so when we consider that the economy in Ghana has been hit so hard with this, whatever this was that happened, whoever's been playing around in the markets, doing whatever it is they've done to cause this bank run and all of this other stuff, This should cause you to pause before jumping into any situation that you are not fully aware of the outcome. Now, for those of you who say you don't mind taking risks, that's fine. But I think people have a right to know and understand fully what is involved when they are going from one continent to another. So for those of you who want to look more into this, and because you may be considering going to Ghana, please do so. Look more into it. Not trying to discourage you from going to the continent, but even people on the continent tells us to be very careful and don't just jump into this thing because someone is sending for you. It is what it is, family, okay? I just wanted to share this with you because it was shared with me, and it's kind of in keeping with something that I had already spoken on recently. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. Do your research, family. That's all I'm asking. And with that, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel. And also, comment, share, like, and subscribe.